Sometimes life hands you a battle you never signed up for. And let me tell you, nobody expects their biggest war to be against a bunch of strangers in matching polos armed with clipboards and the kind of grins that say, "We're here to ruin your day." But that's how it started the day the Seabridge Dunes HOA came gunning for my family's cottage by the sea, thinking they'd roll over me like I was just another soft target. I don't think they realized not for 1 second that I'd turn out to be their worst nightmare. I've never been one for surprise visits, especially not from people who think authority comes with a badge and a branded shirt. That morning, the wind off the Atlantic was just right, sharp enough to set the pines clattering, gentle enough to lift my coffee's steam. I was out on the old porch watching a freighter crawl across the horizon when an unfamiliar sedan crunched up the gravel drive like it owned the place. Out stepped two men and a woman, all in matching navy polos, Seabridge Dunes Community Council stitched over the heart. They looked hilariously out of place, city faces, manicured hands like mall cops who'd wandered out of air conditioning into the wild. I set my mug down, met them halfway. The woman, Karen, naturally stuck her hand out like she expected me to kiss it. "Good morning, you must be Mr. Roland," I said deadpan. "You folks selling something?" She laughed way too bright. "Oh no, not at all. I'm Karen Dallas, acting president of the HOA. These are my colleagues, Todd and Angela." She barreled right into her pitch without even waiting for an invite, gushing about how well I kept up the place, how it was practically a local landmark. Then came the catch. Due to some unexpected delays with their precious community clubhouse, would I mind handing over a spare key? Just for a few days, and in return, I'd get honorary access to all Seabridge Dunes amenities. I stared at her like she'd just asked to borrow my skin. "You do realize I said this house isn't part of your HOA? Karen's smile never flickered. "Well, technically, it borders our development. The historic parcel lines are blurry. We view this house as a transitional asset. Your grandfather's property predates Seabridge Dunes, of course, but you use our access roads, and many homeowners see this as part of the larger shared environment." "That's a lot of words to say something very stupid," I replied, keeping my voice flat. "This is private property. My grandfather bought it in 1964. No one besides me has the right to be here. There's no version of reality where I give you the keys." Her smile tightened. She shifted, dropping the customer service mask. "I understand this may seem sudden, but we are trying to act in the best interest of the community. Our board is in a crisis. If you refuse to cooperate, we may have to explore other avenues." I tapped record on my phone and asked her to repeat that. She hesitated, recalibrating, then started talking about zoning standards, coastal cooperation zones. I almost laughed. "There's no such thing. And for the record, everything you say is being recorded. I've got cameras everywhere. If anyone steps foot here again, I'm calling the sheriff." "No second warning," Todd squirmed. Angela studied her shoes. Karen tried one last shot of faux civility, but I was done. "Now get off my land." They left. I watched their car disappear, then checked my cameras. Every angle clear. The wind picked up, snapped the old flag against the mast. And for a second I thought maybe, just maybe, they'd gotten the message. I was wrong. Less than 48 hours later, my phone buzzed during a meeting back in Charlotte. Security alert, rear entrance motion detected, 9:42 a.m. I thumbed to the feed, two guys in Seabridge polos waltzing through my side gate like they'd done it before. One with a clipboard, the other a tool roll. My heart hammered as the second guy knelt by the rear door and unfurled a set of lockpicks. I hit the intercom. "Step away from the door. You're being recorded. I've already called the police." They froze. The clipboard guy stared straight at the camera. The other dropped the pick set like it was hot. Then both vaulted. The deck steps disappeared so fast you'd think my place was on fire. The camera caught it all, including the HOA-branded SUV's license plate. I'd called the sheriff the second I saw those pics. Sent the footage to the department and my attorney. By lunch, the deputy had ID'd one guy as Roger Livingston from the HOA Facilities Subcommittee. The other his cousin, an off-duty locksmith. They hadn't even bothered to hide it. That night, my neighbor Glenn texted, "Karen was back at your seawall today, pointing at the house with some guy in a blazer. Looked like a realtor. They weren't just casing the place, they were marketing it." I told Glenn to keep his phone handy. He might be a witness before this was over. Next morning, fat envelope in my mailbox, Seabridge Dunes logo, high-end paper. Inside, a stack of faux legal nonsense claiming my cottage was now a contingent auxiliary asset under a decades-old ordinance. Supposedly, I had 72 hours to hand over keys or face community arbitration. It would have been funny if it wasn't so brazen. The ordinance didn't exist. The map was a joke, and the community arbitration channels were as real as a unicorn. I called the county. They confirmed my property had never ever been under HOA jurisdiction. But I wanted this airtight, so I hired Hal, the best old-school surveyor around, smelled like motor oil, and knew every plot line since before Nixon. We walked my land, checked every stone marker, every buried rod. Hal gave me a signed statement, official plat map, ironclad proof my land was untouchable. I drafted a formal cease and desist, sent it to the HOA with Hal's report attached. My lawyer was giddy. This isn't just encroachment, it's orchestrated fraud. They're trying to rewrite your deed with a printer and a straight face. Glenn kept the updates coming. Karen was hosting temporary guest housing meetings on her porch whiteboard and all dropping my name to anyone who'd listen. I did some digging and found she'd already pulled a similar stunt last month, moved her niece into someone else's house under the community necessity flag. The HOA covered for her, paid off the owner, swept it under the rug. This wasn't an accident or overreach. It was a coordinated effort to seize homes under fake authority. I scanned every document, built a master file, backed it up to the cloud, and a fireproof drive. If they wanted war, I was ready. Then the sabotage started. I got back to the cottage one Friday night and found the power dead. Checked the meter gone. Pulled clean as a whistle. Duke Energy said a termination request had been submitted, signed by me on behalf of the HOA. I filed a fraud dispute. They sent me the fake form. My name typed the signature, a child's scrawl. The reason property offered for community use. When the technician finally restored the meter, he mentioned they'd gotten a call to cancel the visit from Karen D. something. I said nothing, just stared until he got the message. I installed new cameras, rekeyed every lock, and met with the county property crimes detective. She took one look at my stack of evidence and said, "This is calculated. If you catch one in the act, we'll have more than enough." The next week, I started noticing weird activity, motion sensor pings, but nothing on camera until I found a camouflage trail camera hidden in my bushes, not mine. Someone had been coming by, collecting the card, surveilling my home like it was an enemy fort. I bagged the camera, swept the dirt for footprints, set up a hidden thermal cam. They were treating my house like a target. I treated it like a perimeter. The escalation came before dawn. Knock at the door 6:15 a.m. Not the neighborly kind of knock that says, "Comply." I opened up to find a man in a suit, Nathan Crowley, independent arbitrator for the HOA, handing me a manila envelope. "Your formal notice of arbitration." I told him flat, "You're not officers of the court." He rattled on about buffer zones, expansion votes. I couldn't help but laugh. There's no buffer zone. You can't vote to annex private land. His assistant started scribbling notes, asking if my resistance was a threat. "No," I said, "it's a statement of fact." Crowley invited me to some sham mediation forum. I told him to get lost. My lawyer dug up Crowley's records. No license, no credentials, just a face for hire. The arbitration was pure theater designed to spook me. But I wasn't spooked. I filed a restrictive covenant on my deed. Nobody, not even a future owner, could ever join an HOA here without dissolving it in court. Sent every incident to the state attorney general. Called a private investigator. They tried one last Hail Mary, a rusted trailer loaded with emergency housing supplies dumped across my drive. I had it towed, logged, every car that circled. They wanted me to crack. Instead, I set the trap. My investigator, Ruben, dug up internal HOA emails, anonymous tip-off. Karen had a target list. Mine was number 2. If we keep the pressure on, he'll fold. He's a tech guy, not a fighter. Drafts of fake repair notices, plans to install lock boxes, accusations of environmental violations, every tactic laid bare. My lawyer had seen enough. "We're done playing defense," she said. We filed for a restraining order, a civil suit, and handed everything to the county prosecutor. That was Monday. By Thursday, it was all over the news. Seabridge Dunes HOA accused of forgery, trespassing, conspiracy. The headlines did the rest. The county raided the HOA office, found everything blank. Access forms, lock picks, a housing target spreadsheet with my address marked in red, and a thumb drive labeled Karen Backup Docs, chock full of emails about controlling optics, isolating homeowners, forging signatures. Karen was arrested in her bathrobe at sunrise, her confidence shriveled. 2 board members resigned on the spot. Crowley, the arbitrator, was exposed as a fraud, his business shut down. The HOA's accounts were frozen. In a matter of days, the entire organization was dissolved by court order. Karen took a plea 5 years in state full restitution to every homeowner they targeted. And me, the county declared my land a non-annexable private zone. I bolted a steel sign to my gate private property. Not subject to HOA control, trespassers will be prosecuted. The only visitors now are deer, the odd raccoon, and the ocean breeze. Just the way it's supposed to be. So what's the lesson? Maybe it's this: power only wins if you let it. Stand your ground, and even the loudest bullies can be made to answer for every single line they cross. But hey, what do you think? Where's the line between community and pure overreach? Should there be such a thing as an unstoppable HOA, or does there come a time when standing up is the only answer? Drop your thoughts below. Ever tangled with an HOA or had to fight for what's yours? I want to hear your story.